Well, thank you guys for having me today. Reverend Marcia, I appreciate you joining the fan club, rocking out the uniform. So any of you who don't know what the official uniform of hip preachers is, it is a flannel and a t-shirt. So Reverend Marcia, I appreciate you. Mad respect. Also, just thank you so much for starting with those affirming words that you said, specifically to our friends who are on the margins and unhoused here in the city of Atlanta. I think I've told you guys this before, but oftentimes you hear people say, well, don't give people money because they'll go buy drugs. And the reply we should say is, where can I find drugs for $5? Let me know. I'm just saying, And one thing that I am thankful for today is your chairs. Like, I don't know whose idea it was to get those cushions, but those are like, if there's a such thing as a divinity, it is found in that cushion. Like my laurels were singing "Rejoice" and Handel's Messiah. I don't know if you heard it, but man, just amazing. So wherever you guys,
Andy did it. Andy.
I'm coming for you, Andy, at the end of service. I need to know. Cultivating gratitude in an age of cynicism. I'm not sure about you guys, but I really appreciate cynicism and snark. It's like one of my favorite love languages.
Yeah.
As a follower of Christ, sometimes I tease my Baptist friends and Pentecostal friends that snark is actually a gift of the Spirit, because it is. It's funny. Humor alleviates things. And I like to be cynical in a certain way, but not so cynical that it brings everything down. And that's hard to do, specifically where we live and the context in which we live in, the age in which we live in, and everything that's going on in our world right now. And I could begin to recount things, but as well as I know, the pain that is alive in the world. I wanted to save this for my kid and be like, look at this, but I'm going to save it for my trident. This is, do not tell Professor Jones at West Georgia College that I was chewing gum before a speech. He would just have a cow. That was the first rule. It was like, never chew gum. But it's one of my vices, that and curse words. Like, those are my two favorite vices. And of late, cheesecake and carbohydrates. Those are also one of my personal vices. I was blaming it on the change in my medicine that they gave me for my special neurodivergence, but it's just, I like carbs and cheesecake, so can't really blame it. But going back to like snark and cynicism, like the pain in which we live in, like humor can alleviate that. It's when our world is so deprived of light and love and peace that we sit in the brutality and rawness of everything that's happening. And I'm not here to bring a message of toxic positivity by any means, right? Many of you are familiar with Viktor Frankl. And my mother often, like 3 times at least in my life, gave me a copy of Viktor Frankl's work. And finally, the last time she got it, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. And I read it. And one thing that I remember reading was that life didn't owe me anything, but that I owed everything to life. And I remember thinking, what if I could operate in such a way that I wouldn't let the sadness get to me? Do you guys remember the Never-Ending Story? It was in the 80s. It was awesome. There was like this white Labrador flying dragon thing called Valcor. That was awesome. Like, as a child, I was like, I want a white Labrador flying dragon for Christmas. Can that happen, right? This Valcor thing was so amazing. And then there was this warrior who rose up in the story, and he had this horse And the warrior's name was Artrio, and I can't remember the horse's name. But they're walking through this swamp of sadness. And the sadness is this thick quagmire, just quicksand, nasty sludge. And I remember the most horrible point of my childhood was when this horse got caught by the swamp of sadness. And it stopped moving. And the warrior wrestles with the horse, saying, no, come on, don't get stuck here. Don't get stuck here. Come on. But the horse had lost anything except its current understanding of the swamp of sadness, and it disappears into the mud. I think I was 7 when I saw that, and I was like, oh my God. Yeah. And as a 7-year-old, as you know, I've shared my story, I was experiencing some pretty horrible things that I couldn't tell my parents about because my abuser said, shh, don't tell anyone. But that was a really sad moment for me. And we can get stuck in the sadness and in the cynicism and the brutality of the world and miss the beauty of the world. Because we do live in a beautiful, beautiful, glorious world. I've had many spiritual teachers. One of my current spiritual teachers, my spiritual director, is Rabbi Mitch Cohen, who's a self-proclaimed Buju. He's a Jewish Buddhist who studied Tibetan Buddhism. And he's so funny. He's a great guy. My family has known a lot of suicide, and his family has known a lot of suicide. And we've sat in the darkness together. And he's taught me a lot about things. But one thing that he taught me to do was to take moments of gratitude as a spiritual exercise. It gets warm up here, doesn't it? Or is it just me?
Heat rising.
Heat rising? It's all you hotties out there in the audience. Hey now. I'm going to take this flannel off. Yeah, so he taught me a couple different exercises, and I want to share some of them with you all today before I do some other things. But one of the things that he said was to savor things. And I was like cheesecake? Savoring cheesecake? And he was like, yes, and he was like, savor a moment. He was like, savor a feeling. This morning, my butt savored that cushion. I was like, wow, I'm really grateful for this cushion. Thank you. Apologies for my voice. It's all that smoking, drinking, and fornicating that I did last night in preparation for the sermon. I'm not teasing. If you guys can't tell, I'm a preacher's kid. You know now, right? Worship pastor. So taking a moment to savor. And I'd like to invite you, if you are willing and able, to join me in an exercise of savoring. You're probably like, what are you even talking about? I'm going to give you a couple directions, and I want you to find the one that works for you the best. Okay, so one is movement, either in your chair or up and in the congregation. Okay? So one, you can stay in your chair, or two, if you're willing, you can get up. So the first one is, I'd like for you to stay in your chair, close your eyes, sit in a way that protects you and your body. And I'd like for, if it's easy, you to either take off a shoe or either to take your hand. If you want to take off your shoe and you want to feel something. Now, you guys don't judge my feet. I haven't had a pedicure lately, okay? But if you want to take off your shoe and feel the leg of your pants and just gently feel that and allow your foot to feel it. Or if you want to take your hand and feel fabric that you have on. Maybe it's something that's been knitted. Maybe it's a jacket. Maybe it's corduroy. And just allow your senses to feel what it feels like. Get into this moment and just feel the fabric. And as you're gently rubbing, just think of this as kind of self-soothing. But savor this feeling, this fabric that you have on. And if you're brave and you want to take off a shoe, maybe let your feet feel each other. I have burlap on my shoe, so I'm feeling the burlap on my shoe with my foot. Just be grateful of the sensation that you're feeling. Doesn't it feel good? Isn't it nice? If just for a moment. Okay, for those of you who are interested in movement, if you would like to move around, you're welcome to. And I'd like for you to find a particular piece of art that is drawing you in. And without speaking to a neighbor or a friend or a colleague, I'd like for you to fully engage yourself with the artwork. Just take a minute, 30 seconds, and look and behold beauty. Where is it that you're drawn to in the art? What is it speaking to you? How do you savor this moment? All right, when you're able, you are allowed to find your seat. And when you sit down, savor that cushion. So these were just 2 ways to practice savor, which I had never really thought of. And my rabbi told me that the next time I open a tangerine or a mandarin or one of those little cuties, that I need to be fully engaged with it. And he was like, make love to the fruit. And I was like, no, thank you. I'm good. And he was like, no, with your senses, be with it, connect with it. Smell, bite into it, be grateful of its goodness. And I was like, wow, he is on some other level. But it's a level that I want to be to. And it's not escapism. Is it disassociation? Possibly. I don't know. There's some psychologists in here. We can ask them. But it is a moment to recenter from the pain of the world. Right? Some of you have read the Talmud, and there is a quote in there that says, do not be daunted by the enormity of pain in the world. Neither is the work yours to abandon nor complete. However, do justice now, act with kindness now, practice mercy now. And I love that. And my favorite scripture from the Hebrew Nehemiah, the prophets, is that from Micah 6:6-8, that talks about do justice now, act mercifully now, practice kindness now. And I love that. Each day, you have the opportunity to get up and to do good in your own world. Are we going to solve the problems that exist in our world right now that are any news headlines? Right? Are we going to solve the fact that there's multiple wars and wars brewing, even as we speak? Probably not. Are we going to end the manufacturing of bombs in America, which Americans make profits on when they sell them to other places? Probably not. Are we going to fix water systems that are so antiquated that are leaking poison into houses within our cities? Maybe, probably not. But we can do good in our little corners of the world, in our little neighborhoods. We can walk the path in the park and pick up trash, right? We can lean over into the river and grab some cans out of the river. We can walk by the tent city and give a banana or a pair of socks. We can care for our friends who are no longer able to get out of their homes. We can call someone who's lonely. We can show up and we can practice kindness and justice and love every day. And we can be grateful for the small things that we have. It's hard because we live in an age of the internet, right? And I love Facebook. I heard you talking about Facebook earlier. I love and hate it, right? It's a fun way to stay engaged with people, to post memes that are funny. But there's always that one person that you don't really know that just pops up on your feed to argue with you because they know everything. That guy, right? It's always a guy too. Sorry, gentlemen, but I'm just calling you out there. It's always a dude bro, right? The dude bro who knows everything. And you're like, whoa, what is that about? And then there's been studies released of the how digital dysmorphia basically can happen, where we see other people and we begin to hate our own lives, or we want more. And we forget that what people are posting is the highlight reel, right? They don't show everything. They don't show the argument that happened before the turkey looked immaculate on the table, right? They didn't show how their children can barely stand to come near them anymore before the cranberry sauce was laid out. Or they show the beautiful picture of all their family together, and it doesn't show the dysfunction and the pain in which they live in, or the cancer diagnosis, or the severe depression, or the fact that they've been to the doctor 6 times this year, and maybe, hopefully, this medicine is the right medicine. We only see the highlights generally on social media. By practicing gratitude, we don't have to get in competition when those social media highlights. We can be grateful for the things that we have. I don't live as a materialist. I live in solidarity with those who are experiencing poverty in America. I work in a nonprofit. I get a little side hustle preaching gig here, a little painting sold there. But I try to live as much as I can frugally, right? And I like certain things like cheesecake and carbohydrates. And I enjoy certain things like that. But I try to live frugally. But there are some things that I'm so grateful for because I know that these things are really rich. Not in the sense of the consumeristic production culture of America and marketplace consumption and capitalism. But these things like my 6-year-old daughter who finds amazement at beetles in the yard. Or this cat that just showed up at my house 2 months ago, who we've aptly named Saint Stephen, because wherever he goes, all the people complain. But he's so cute, even in his tiny terrors. And he's adopted us. I'm not a cat person, but apparently we are now. But I'm grateful for Stephen in his curiosity and his playfulness and even his little sharp talons. Oh gosh, they're horrible. Any cat people that have advice for me later, please find me. I will listen. But I'm thankful for my child. I'm thankful for my cat. I'm thankful for my partner. I'm thankful for my house, though it looks a little bit dilapidated and the paint is starting to peel on the exterior. I'm grateful for that structure. I'm thankful for hot water. I'm thankful for all these things. I am so very grateful. And I try to cultivate gratitude every day. It's a practice that we can have, and as my rabbi, my Buju, as he calls himself, told me, this is one way that you can elevate things. So I decided to follow Alice down the rabbit hole, and I looked up the science of gratitude. And do you know that it can offer spikes in serotonin? And I was like, well, SHIT. This is good to know. I am a person who deals with a little bit of a lack of serotonin. That's why I take a special medicine, mostly to keep me from being naked on the streets of Atlanta prophesying over you guys, because that just would not be good. And to keep me out of the hospital and, the grippy socks. But I take medicine for my PTSD and for my bipolar because of serotonin and dopamine and because of my brain's inability to regulate those things. But I saw that a practice of gratitude can raise that. And then I dove into the science even more. There's a study from Indiana University. If you just Google gratitude, Indiana University, science of, they show that it improves sleep. Well, lo and behold, us bipolar folks need sleep, because after day 3, I am talking to walls, and it's one of the best trips you've ever had. I know some of y'all have been down that lane too, so I can tell just by your age. No ageism, I just know. I know what happened in the 60s. I read about Timothy Leary. So we can increase sleep and the quality of sleep, serotonin, by practicing gratitude. And then I was looking at life expectancies of people who are grateful, and it goes far beyond those who have a negative outlook. And I also know that some of you know people who are Debbie Downers or negative Nancys, and being good Winnie the Poohs and Piglets, we include Eeyore in all the things that we do. And we love Eeyore, and we care for Eeyore, but sometimes Eeyore can be a bit of a drag, right? And that can be draining. And I was reading that our positivity can be as infectious as our negativity. And if you are around someone who makes you feel like sunshine, it actually helps your body. Not only does it release serotonin and dopamine, but it also, positivity of thankfulness, releases oxytocin, the cuddle drug, the drug that you get after petting a dog or a cat or your lover. Oxytocin, it also releases that. So there's science about gratitude. And last, before I leave, I know our time is getting near, and I want to be grateful to you all for letting me speak, but also knowing that you have other things to do on this Sunday. Lastly, a practice of writing what you are thankful for, either in a private format or a public format, doesn't have to be shared, goes on to raise your serotonin levels over time. This is what the study said, that in writing what you are grateful for, you increase your brain functionality, your brain neuroplasticity, and your serotonin levels over time. Well, don't you know that I've started writing things that I'm thankful for every day. Even when it's one of those days when the ATM stops working and MARTA doesn't, load your pass onto your card, and I stepped into human special stuff on the sidewalk on Peachtree Street, and my shoelaces are untied, and just I'm late. And even on those days, I find 3 things to be thankful for. Maybe it's the leaves on my walk. Maybe it's the blue sky. Maybe it's the quiet sleeping and sometimes interrupted by snores of my 6-year-old. But I find those things and I'm writing them down. Because I believe in neuroplasticity. I want to live a healthy, longer life. And I want to try to be positive as I can. I appreciate you guys letting me jibber jabber today and come and share with you all. I hope that you can practice gratitude, not just at this time of the year, but all year round. I hope that you find things to be grateful for, even in the world of cynicism. And one last thing, find some funny people to be around, some people that are funny and silly and lighthearted. They're just good folks. Also, my therapist said that being humorous is kind of a defense mechanism. And I was like, no, it's not. And she was like, yeah, it is. And I was like, okay. And so I started teasing with her. And she's like, you're teasing me because you lost your innocence at an early age. And I was like, this is horrible. But it was so funny, right? And then she said, let's talk about the circle of pain. And I was like, this is even more funny. I was like, let's just talk about it. But humor can deflect pain for just a little bit, and it can elevate it. So as you're practicing gratitude, find some humor in it each day. Blessings upon you. Thanks for letting me come up here. Reverend Marcia, I love your uniform. I'm going to come back there and hang out with you later. And peace be upon you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And I meant guys in the most feminist way ever. So, yeah, just so you know. Thank you, Wade.